In 1983, over 100 million people in the United States watched a Sunday night movie that had been advertised for weeks. It was called The Day After. The setting was Lawrence, Kansas, and the story was about a nuclear bomb that destroys the United States, and specifically what happens in Lawrence, Kansas. The film was broadcasted for weeks that said, "Your children should not watch this film." I remember a group of us gathered, teachers at my place, and we watched it, 128 minutes of incredibly destructive and frightening and shocking scenes of total death. Nothing left. You know, we read about in the paper what's happening in California, where 7,000 and 8,000 homes are destroyed. Well, this movie depicts everything is destroyed. You know, when will the world end? And how will it end? As we approach the end of the liturgical year, the church uses these scriptures to help us reflect on the end times. The words and the images presented in today's first reading and the gospel are indeed sobering. And if you weren't listening, if you were sleeping, tear that gospel and those readings out of the missalette and take them home and read them tonight. If you aren't moved by this, then there is something wrong. You know, it's important for us to be aware of the end time. I remember 30 years ago, there was a famous Southern preacher who predicted 3 times in 1 year that the world would end. The prediction made in Japan 15 years ago, thousands of people committed suicide. There's a movement in some Christian circles to prepare what they call the rapture of a great chastisement, which was supposed to have happened April the 23rd, 2017. And guess what? It didn't happen. People's attention is drawn to those kind of predictions. And sandwiched between all of that doom and gloom of end times are the over and over words that Jesus uses in the gospel constantly. Be prepared. Be alert. Keep your lamp lit. Make ready for the bridegroom. The second coming is going to be here. And if the gospel and the church are very much a part of your lives, if what we do here and say here is what you live by, then we will have nothing to worry about when it comes to end times. You know, we're always invited at every Mass to prepare. We offer reconciliation in our parishes every day of the week except Saturdays. Well, Saturday too. There's opportunities to be prepared. The only thing we really have to worry about at the end of the world is the fact that each of us is going to have to make an account of our lives in front of God. No excuse. Why do so many of our children and grandchildren don't go to Mass and they're going to come before God and say, "Well, I was busy"? It's not going to happen. That's not what we believe. You know, do our actions reflect what we say we are? You know, we recite every week that we believe in the judgment of the living and the dead in the creed, and we'll pray it again later. Do we really believe that? You know, if we embrace Christ, we're going to be protected at the end. How many of you know the story of the 3 pigs, 3 little pigs? Oh, come on. Where are you from and where were you raised? 3 little pigs went into the forest to build themselves a home. The first one built a huge 2-story brick home with a jacuzzi, took out a loan to pay for the construction, had a large insurance policy to protect his investment, covering storms, floods, fire, and wolves. He took out a second job so he could pay for his mortgage. He absolutely had no time to pray. He had no time to put up with all that stuff. And he didn't have time to enjoy life. But he had the biggest house in the forest, and what more would you want? The other two pigs decided that they were going to pool their resources and build a house that they would share out of sticks, mud, and straw. It didn't take them very long to build it. Didn't even take out insurance. They had lots of time to pray, to relax, commune with God, and enjoy life. They learned how to play the fiddle and dance the jig. Well, one day, the big bad wolf came into the forest, and he came to the door of the first pig, the 2-story brick home with a jacuzzi, and he huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he puffed, and he couldn't blow the door down. So he left, but the pig inside just gloated with pride. He had the best house in the whole forest. And the wolf went to the second house with the 2 pigs, and they were scared to death. They realized that there was nothing between the wolf and a pork chop supper than a straw door. The pigs knelt down, made the sign of the cross. They prayed, "Oh God, watch over us, protect us. We have walked with you in our entire lives. Be with us now, and let your will be done." And the wolf huffed and he puffed. He huffed and he puffed, and he fell over dead from an acute attack of emphysema. And the 2 pigs knelt down and made the sign of the cross. They thanked God, and they picked up the fiddle and danced a jig. That's not how the real story goes, if some of you forgot. When worship, when the scriptures and the Eucharist are central in our lives, we won't have to worry about the end. We will have pain and suffering because we're humans, but at the end time, we will be part of the kingdom. Because Jesus said, "The Son of Man is coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the 4 winds, from the end of the earth to the end of the sky." And my prayer is that we are all part of that elect. Amen.